I don't think I'm ever going to be good at doing intros, so go watch Tom Savini's remake of Night of the Living Dead. Tom Savini, who had worked with George Romero on many of his films and did the special effects for Night of the Living Dead's sequel, Dawn of the Dead, got the opportunity to direct its remake in 1990. I think amongst horror fans, this film does get the appreciation it deserves, but if you're maybe getting into horror films, or you're unfamiliar with horror films and you're wanting to get into it, this is a film that you might overlook. Remakes have that reputation of being worse than the original and not being worth your time, but that couldn't be further from the truth with the 1990 Night of the Living Dead. Yes, the original's a classic, and it far surpasses just about any other zombie movie ever made, and I don't even think Tom Savini would argue that. I think that he would put his own film beneath George's film. George, like, I'm really good friends with him. I wish. But it does not fall into that remake trap. It is a worthwhile film. It is a good film. If you like zombie movies or are in general just getting into the horror genre, this is one that I strongly recommend you go watch.
Night of the Living Dead.
I gotta say, Tom Savini and company do a commendable job remaking one of the most influential, beloved, and iconic horror films of all time. In many ways, it surpasses the original. I find that in this version, all the characters, especially Barbara, Ben, and Cooper, are miles better than they are in the Romero counterpart. They're just more fleshed out, and they're elevated even further by performances from guys like Tony Todd, Bill Moseley, and Tom Towles. I think the opening title shot is a lot creepier than the original films. Not the whole opening. The opening of the original Night of the Living Dead is a masterpiece. But the opening title shot in this one, I think, is fantastic. I do think that this version lacks in the audio department. Some of the sound effects lack punch, especially the gunshots. And the music ranges from effective, creepy, memorable, and fantastic to frankly sounding like it came from a stock library.
Please, my brother hurts!
I do think that the ending is more satisfying. That doesn't necessarily mean it's better. The original ending has a real bite. This version goes for a more feel-good ending. Not that this ending makes you feel good, it most certainly doesn't, but there is some catharsis at the end. Again, that doesn't necessarily mean it's better, it's just that one version has a cathartic ending and one version doesn't. I don't want to spoil it for you because the whole point of this video is recommending that you go watch it. But if you watch both versions, I think you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. I do like that the ending is different, though. It's yet another thing that makes this version worthwhile, you know? If they had just done the Psycho remake shtick of doing the exact same thing, then it wouldn't have been worthwhile. It's a good time. It definitely gets overshadowed by both the original Night of the Living Dead and other contemporary zombie films, but I strongly believe it has value and is worth your time, especially if you like zombie movies. I do think that horror fans have come to appreciate this one, but I don't think it's as appreciated by the wider audiences, and I think that's unfortunate. If I have to have one final complaint, it's that the gore is not what you'd want from a movie directed by Tom Savini. Tom Savini is the godfather of gore. His gore special effects in films like Creepshow, Dawn of the Dead, and Day of the Dead are memorable, beautiful in their own way, and impressive. That is mainly just a nitpick because I do think the movie stands on its own without excessive gore, and I'd have to imagine that it's not entirely his fault. I can almost guarantee you there's some censorship going on, but still, I just think it does a fantastic job at creating a creepy atmosphere. It's definitely worth your time. And I just want to finish with a couple of rapid fire things that I like about the movie. I really like the camera work. I think it's paced really well. And I really appreciate how intelligent the characters are. In zombie movies, you kind of just come to accept the fact that even though they're incredibly slow, nobody's going to really point that out. But in this movie, it treats the audience's intelligence with respect and has characters pointing out the fact that they could literally walk around the zombies, and I really appreciate that. In some zombie movies, even some great ones, you're kind of shaking your head going, well, how the fuck did that guy get caught? And like I said, even in classics, like take this scene in Dawn of the Dead. You know, this guy could probably have just stood up and walked straight forward and have been fine. So yeah, that's about it. Just like intros, I am probably never gonna get good at doing outros. So goodbye.